Hey, let's do some
Let's solve
math.
this problem right here. I have the cube root of 3 minus 8x squared equals 2x. So the way you get rid of a cube root is you cube both sides. So I cube both sides there. And these cubing and taking the cube root undo one another so that I have this, what was underneath the radical. When you cube this over here, you're going to do 2 cubed and x cubed. So 2 cubed is 8. And of course, x cubed is x cubed. Now, if I get everything on one side of the equal sign, it's going to look like that. And what I did, there's a long way to do this and a little bit quicker way. The long way is to use the rational root theorem. And I'm not going to show that here just for the sake of time. If I have time later on, I'll do a follow-up video where I show you how I get a half without using a graphing calculator. But for right now, let's just say that's what I did. So I graphed this on my graphing calculator and I found this to be an x-intercept. So I'll do a follow-up video on showing that. But the bottom line is you can't factor this. And so the only way to do it is to either graph it and find one x-intercept or to use the rational root theorem and find one x-intercept. And I know I have 3 answers altogether because this is raised to the 3rd power. So the fundamental theorem of algebra says that whatever the highest degree is of this polynomial, that's how many answers you're going to have. So I found 1. I know I'm going to have 2 more. So since 1/2 did prove to be an x-intercept, I write 1/2 in the box. And I'm going to do synthetic division to find the other answers. Well, this 8 corresponds to that 8. This 8 corresponds to that 8. I don't have an x term here, so I put a 0 placeholder, and then there's the -3. So whenever you start with something cubed, you better have something to the 2nd power and then an x, and then all of them have to be represented all the way down. And so that's why I had to put this placeholder in there, because I had an x cubed, I had an x squared, I'm missing an x term, and then there's the -3. So I write that down. Now to do synthetic division, you bring this 8 down. 1/2 times 8 is 4. You add 8 and 4, you get 12. You do 1/2 times 12, you get 6. You add those together, you get 6. 1/2 times 6 is 3. You add those together, you get 0. The 0 here as a remainder is proof that this really is an answer. So if I had any doubts, this synthetic division proves that it really is an answer. So I feel good about that. Now I'm going to take what's left over and write it as a polynomial going this way. So there's a 6, 12x, and 8x squared. Now if I write that over here, so 8x squared plus 12x plus 6 equals 0. Now all I have to do is solve this. The good news is it's a quadratic. The bad news is it won't factor. Now I was able to factor out a 2, so that's the greatest common factor, so I did that just to make my number smaller, which is a really good idea. And then I'm going to do the quadratic formula on this. And so x equals -b, there's your b term, so -b plus or minus the square root of b squared, 6 squared is 36. This is a, b, and c, minus 4 times a times c. So that's where this came from. And it's all over 2 times a. Well, this is the a term. So 2 times a. You can disregard this because I factored that out and it doesn't have a variable. So I'm really just solving that. What makes this equal to 0? So I did the quadratic formula. Now, if you simplify this part under here, you get -12. And so I have this. So 2 times 4 is 8. When I simplify this, the -12 becomes -1 times 4 times 3. And the square root of -1 is I, and the square root of 4 is 2. So this becomes that. And then you look here, there, and there. If you can take a number out of all 3 places, then you should. So notice I could take a 2 out of all of those. So 2 goes into -6 -3 times, 2 goes into 2 1 time, so that's 1i, square root of 3, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. So this means that I have -3 plus or minus I square root of 3 over 4. That's 2 answers. So that's -3 plus I square root of 3 over 4, and that's also -3 minus I square root of 3 over 4. So those are the other 2 answers that would go in these blanks here. So I have 1/2 as an answer. That's a real number answer. These two answers are imaginary answers. So they're not actually capable of being located as x-intercepts. So that if you graph this problem, you're only going to find one x-intercept, and that's it right there. So that's a real number answer, but these are imaginary answers. So you could not get those by just factoring or something like that. We had to use the quadratic formula to be able to do that. Anyway, so those are the answers. So you have 3 answers. Like I said, later on I'll do a video on how to take that problem and get 1/2, and I'll do it both ways. I'll do it with a graphing calculator, and then I'll do it with a rational root theorem and show you where that comes from. Hopefully this makes sense. If not, you may want to re-watch the video. I talked kind of fast, and see if that helps a little bit. But if you need further explanation, holler at me.